Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about this whole idea of how we could become so familiar and so comfortable with people and with our surroundings that it actually does not lead to our personal growth. So we can become so familiarize ourselves so much with just doing things a certain way, one way, only eating a certain type of food, only, staying in one neighborhood, never getting outside of that neighborhood, staying with one set of friends, being around one set of people only in one environment. And that could restrict our personal growth. So that's what I want to discuss today. Before I get into it, I want to ask you again to please subscribe to the channel as I'm, working to get the channel to grow. Please turn on your post notifications. Please share the videos. Don't forget to leave your comments. I really do appreciate you taking your time to leave the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button because it does help the channel grow. And always thank you for tuning in. So, this whole idea of how we could familiarize ourselves or how we could become so comfortable in a situation or with a person or with whatever that it might not lead to us growing to our personal growth, right? So think of the person who never leaves their comfort zone. Because what happens to us a lot of times is as we get older, we have a tendency to become maybe conservative is not the word, but that's what I can think of right now. To become more conservative, we take less chances and risk a lot of times. Not everyone, but a lot of people, the older that they get, the older they become. And so what happens with a lot of us is the more familiar we are with our surroundings or with people or whatever, we get comfortable. It doesn't mean that we like it. It just means that a lot of times we get comfortable. Now, you might ask yourself, how could you get comfortable with something that you don't like? But if you really think about it, there are a lot of people who don't like their jobs. They're okay with it, but they're comfortable with where they work, who they work with. They even comfortable with how far they have to drive to work and the circumstances they get their bills paid. And so a lot of times they stay in a situation where they're not really all that happy, but it's what they know. And so that's what I'm really trying to get at today. People a lot of times get content with what they know. It's not that what they know makes them happy, it's just that they're familiar with it. And so they create this false sense of comfort around a situation or a person, right? There are people in relationships and they're not happy, but they're used to being with that person. They're used to having the highs and the lows, or whatever the case is. And so they're content to the extent where they know who they're dealing with, but it doesn't mean that they're happy. But what happens with that is that could keep us back from growing personally because we're not getting outside of our comfort zones. It restricts our personal growth because what happens is you have this person who you're comfortable with, but they don't make you happy. But you're not seeking true happiness because you've kind of come up with this mindset that, well, I'm just going to be okay with what I have. And it's developing that what I have mentality and I'm going to be okay with it that leads a lot of people to that whole idea of contentment that I'm discussing, right? So this you could be so familiar with something that you restrict your personal growth. Think of people who live in neighborhoods where around the same people, they do the same things, they all talk about the same things. Those people are not going anywhere, and then they see things in the neighborhood that are not necessarily positive. They don't see any positive examples. There's no examples of people who are succeeding at anything, people who are growing personally. It's just one thing that they're exposed to over and over and over and over again, and that becomes their accepted norm. seeing that one thing over and over and over again becomes their accepted norm. And so that's why I'm saying, you know it too. You know, and it, you may have been there, where there are people in relationships and they're not happy, but they're just familiar with the person enough to stay in their relationship. Or they live in the neighborhood and they hate it, and they don't work to get out of that area or get out of their circumstance or whatever the case is, because they know it. Now, there are some people who genuinely might be in a situation and they don't feel they can get out. They don't feel they can get out. And I know some people would say, well, there's always a way out. And I agree, there's always a way out of any situation. But a lot of times when you're in someone's shoes, it's tough. It's really tough, right? Because they don't see it the way the person on the outside sees it. And that's the thing. Can you get the person who's only familiar with dating one type of person, or being in, or just staying in their environment and never leaving, never driving to the next town, or never doing whatever the case is? Can you get them to see something else so that they know that there's something better? Something is better beyond what they're familiar with. So the thing with this whole idea of being familiar is, can you see beyond the familiar, right? Can you allow yourself to see beyond the familiar? Because then you see it as a whole new world out there. There are new people, new circumstances, new opportunities. And so we restrict ourselves personally when we only stick to the familiar. So that's my challenge to you is, and that's something that I think I want to start doing a lot more of my videos now, is to challenge you to think outside of your comfort zone. Get outside of your familiar, right? One of the reasons that you may not be happy today is because you're only doing what you're familiar with. Try something else, whether it's new food, try to meet new people, new friends, do some networking, whatever the case is. But try to see beyond your familiar, because your familiar might be holding you back. So, let me know your thoughts on the video. Don't forget to leave your comments. Please don't forget to subscribe and share the videos. Hit the like button because it helps the channel to grow, as well as you sharing the videos as well. And yes, turn on your post notifications. I know I've said that, but I post often, so I want you to be able to see when I post.